Kershaw Clash. Now, it's a very affordable EDC knife from Kershaw. Its price tag comes in at around $25. I picked up mine on Amazon for $25 exactly. And what's really nice is it actually does feature Kershaw's Speed Safe Flipper. So giving it a slight press here, it's just going to flip out just like this with almost no pressure at all. When I first picked up the knife, it was a little bit stiff, so it was a little bit hard to actually get the flipper with one finger to go down. But after flipping it a couple dozen times, it actually broke in and became much more smooth when opening it and when closing it. The blade on this Kershaw Clash is a drop point, and it's also going to be partially serrated here. And this partial serration is going to be great for cutting things like rope or cardboard, and the actual blade itself is actually relatively sharp. As far as steel, we have the 8CR13 MOV steel, which is going to be a Chinese steel, which is definitely very average and nothing too crazy, but we definitely expect to see something like that on a $25 knife. But the blade is finished with this really nice black finish, which actually seems to be holding up relatively well after doing some light tasks with this knife. And I'm actually pretty impressed at how it's actually standing up. The overall length of this knife is 7.375 inches, and the blade is actually only going to be 3.25 inches. So this is actually a nice blade length for an EDC, and the size of it really isn't too bad when folding it up and putting it in the pocket. Speaking of pocket, the pocket clip is available to be switched, so you can carry the knife tip up or tip down. And it's really nice to see this feature on a very affordable knife like this. This knife does feature a liner locker, which seems to be very solid. Kershaw doesn't seem to have any problems with these failing. It's super easy to just move out of the way and close the knife. It's not very tight like some of the more affordable knives that you're going to find. The Kershaw Clash does have some really nice texture here on the grip, and when you open it, you can see it has pretty good ergonomics here and does fit the hand relatively well. So if you're doing some slashing or some stabbing, your finger is not going to go over into the blade of the knife. On the blade of the knife, it's going to say Kershaw Speed Safe, and then if we turn it over on the other side, we can see that this knife does say that it is made in China right here on the blade. And for $25, of course, we expect this knife to be fully made in China. So I've been using this knife for a couple of weeks, and it's a little bit duller than when I first got it. I have not sharpened it at all. So we'll just take a piece of paper here and cut it and see how this unit does. Let's give it one more cut here and see how it does. And as you guys can see, it does do a pretty good job of cutting paper. Just like that. It's not too sharp and it's not too unsharp either. Overall, this is a very affordable knife, and I think you really can't go wrong for $25 if you're just starting to get into knives and you're looking for a nice EDC knife. Kershaw's Speed Safe Flipper is pretty nice and fun. I find myself opening up this knife and closing it all day long, and it's just overall a very decent knife for only $25. If you guys are interested in current pricing and availability, I will have a link in the description down below where you guys can check this knife out on Amazon for around $25, like I said. The Spyderco Tenacious. So first off, let's talk about the dimensions of this knife. The blade is going to be 3.39 inches, and the overall length of this knife is going to be 7.76 inches, which is going to make it a very good size for an EDC. Now, as far as weight goes, this knife comes in at 4.1 ounces, but that's really not too bad considering the knife blade is 3.3 inches long. This Spyderco Tenacious is going to be part of Spyderco's budget line, and that means that the price is only going to be around $47. That's how much I picked up mine on Amazon for, and that's really not a bad deal considering the build quality, which is very nice, and the finishes are really nice. And one of the only real compromises is going to be the blade material. And speaking of blade material, this knife features Spyderco's 8CR13 MOV steel, which again is going to be found in almost all of their budget knives. And this is an overall decent steel. It's not going to be anywhere near the best. It's definitely a very mid-range steel. It's going to hold its edge relatively well, but if you find yourself using this knife every single day, to keep it sharp, you're probably going to have to be sharpening it about once a week. Honestly, I think it's one of Spyderco's best looking knives. It just looks really, really nice and looks very military style and very tactical. Like most Spyderco knives, there's not going to be any thumb studs on this knife. Instead, we have the Spidey hole here, and it's going to be pretty decent for when opening up the knife. You can just easily get a good grip on it and push it out. And I've heard some complaints that the milling here around the Spidey hole was going to be a little bit sharp. I personally have not noticed any sharpness or anything like that at all here in the Spyder hole. The locking mechanism of the Spyderco Tenacious is a liner locker, and as you guys can see here, it's super easy to actuate and just push it out of the side and then just press the knife down just like that. It feels really good, and you're definitely not going to have any issue with it being really hard to push down. When I first got the knife, it was a little bit hard to actuate it, and you had to use a little bit of extra power to get it down, but definitely after breaking the knife in, there's no issues at all. Now, like I said earlier, this is one of Spyderco's budget knives, And because of that, it is going to be made in China. It's actually going to say made in China here on the other side of the blade. And that's definitely to be expected. We're not going to see an American or Japanese made Spyderco knife for under $80. The blade style on this Spyderco Tenacious is a drop point style blade, which is going to be very good for an EDC. It's going to be good for everyday tasks, and it's overall going to be very decent for the average person. I think it's really cool that Spyderco produced a really nice large knife for a very decent price. Another really cool thing about the Spyderco Tenacious is that the pocket clip is going to be completely reversible. So you can carry this knife tip up or tip down. As you guys can see here, there's going to be 3 screws and you can easily swap it on either side of this knife. So it's going to be great for left-handers or right-handers. You can easily just swap it out. As far as ergonomics go, this knife does feel very good in the hand. It has a really nice grip here for the thumb, and as you guys can see, it does fit my hand very well and just feels very good in the hand. Doesn't feel like it's going to slip or anything like that. Overall, this is a very nice Spyderco knife, and the only downsides for me are going to be the fact that it is made in China and that it is using 8CR13 MOV steel, which isn't going to be the best steel. But I really can't complain about the steel that we're using, considering the price tag is only $49. It's overall a very good deal as far as Spyderco knives go, and overall there's really nothing to complain about this knife. If you guys want to check this knife out on Amazon, I will leave a link in the description down below. You guys can check it out on Amazon for around $47. That's how much I paid for mine. It might go up or it might go down, so if you guys are interested in current pricing and availability, I'll have a link in the description down below. You guys can check this knife out on Amazon. My first ever Benchmade knife, and this is the Benchmade Griptilian 551. But I have used this knife before. My dad actually owns one, and I was using it a little bit a couple weeks ago. And I liked it so much that I actually decided to go pick one up for myself. I picked this up for around $95 on Amazon, and that's a really good deal. Usually these are selling for around $120, but for current pricing and availability, I will leave a link in the description down below where you guys can check this out on Amazon. But there is a little tape on the box here, so we'll use my Kershaw knife to cut the tape and get this sucker open, and now it's just open up the box and see what's inside. So it looks like the first thing we are greeted with is this little protective pouch. It's a soft pouch that the knife is going to be protected by, and at the bottom of the box we can see our Benchmade user manual, which is going to give us some information about how to clean and lubricate your knife. But of course that's not what we are interested in. We're interested in the actual knife itself here. So here it is, the Benchmade Griptilian, and as far as weight goes, this is actually relatively lightweight, coming in at 3.82 ounces. The grip feels very nice. It's made from Benchmade's in-house polymer material, which is going to be very durable and very lightweight. The clip on here is reversible, so you can put it on the left or the right section, and the clip is only going to hold the knife tip up. You cannot face the tip down with this clip. The blade is made from 154 American-made stainless steel, and that's going to be very tough and also corrosion resistant, and it's also going to help retain the knife's sharp edge. The blade on this knife is going to be a drop point style, and that's going to be good for everyday carry. The access lock is on both the left and the right side, which is going to be great if you're left or right-handed, and the same goes with the thumb studs. They're going to be featured on both the left and the right side.